There is a bird outside your home right now that may know far more about you than most people realize. Not in the simple way animals recognize movement or notice that a person is nearby. Not just as a large creature that sometimes appears with food. Many birds can recognize individual human faces, remember them for years, and even change their behavior based on what they have learned about a specific person. Think about that for a moment. Every time you step into your backyard, walk across your garden, or stand near a feeder, there may be birds quietly observing you, collecting information, and updating what they know about you. To them, you are not simply another human. You are an individual with a history, a pattern, and a reputation. And depending on what they have decided about you, they may already be reacting to your presence in ways you have never noticed. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Mysteries. If you love discovering the hidden lives of birds and the incredible secrets unfolding right outside your window, make sure you subscribe and join our growing community. Today's story explores one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern bird behavior. Scientists have learned that many birds are not merely aware of us. They study us, they remember us, and in some cases, they may even communicate information about us to other birds. By the end of this video, you'll understand 8 remarkable signs that birds have been paying attention to you. And the final sign may completely change the way you view every bird that visits your yard. Let's begin. Have you ever looked out your window and noticed birds already waiting before you've done anything at all? You haven't opened the door. You haven't filled the feeder. You haven't even stepped outside. Yet somehow, they're already there. A chickadee sits on the branch closest to the feeder. A cardinal waits quietly near the edge of the yard. A blue jay watches from a fence post. At first glance, it feels like coincidence, but researchers studying bird behavior have found something far more interesting. Many birds learn the routines of specific humans. Over time, they begin recognizing patterns. They notice when you usually come outside. They learn what time food appears. They remember where you stand and how you move. Eventually, your routine becomes part of their routine. Instead of reacting to your arrival, they begin anticipating it. Imagine living in a world where survival depends on noticing every detail around you. Every source of food, every potential threat, every predictable event. That's the world birds live in every day. For them, learning your schedule can be incredibly valuable. If you consistently refill a feeder every morning, birds may begin arriving before you do, because they expect you. They are not guessing. They are remembering. That realization changes everything. It means your presence has become meaningful in their world. You are no longer just part of the background. You are part of the pattern. Now consider what happens when a stranger enters your yard. Perhaps it's a delivery driver, a neighbor, a visiting relative. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes. Birds that were comfortably feeding retreat to nearby branches. Conversations of chirps and calls become quieter. Some birds disappear entirely until the stranger leaves. Then, slowly, they return. But when you walk outside, the reaction may be completely different. Many birds remain where they are. Some simply move a little farther away. Others continue eating as though nothing happened. Why? Because they know you. Scientists have demonstrated that certain bird species can recognize individual human faces with astonishing accuracy. Even more impressive, some birds remember those faces for years. Crows are especially famous for this ability. Researchers discovered that crows could identify specific people associated with positive or negative experiences. The birds didn't just remember clothing or body shape. They remembered the face itself. And once a crow formed an opinion about a person, that memory could last for years. Imagine how extraordinary that is. A wild animal flying freely across neighborhoods and parks remembers a particular human among thousands. Now think about your own backyard. If birds remain calm around you, but become nervous around unfamiliar people, they are revealing something important. They have already made a decision about you. And fortunately, it appears to be a positive one. Another sign is so subtle that many people miss it entirely. Eye contact. The next time you watch a bird at your feeder, pay close attention. You may notice it suddenly stop eating. It turns its head. One eye fixes directly on you. For a few seconds, it simply watches. Then it goes back to what it was doing. That moment may seem insignificant, but for a bird, it isn't. Birds have to remain alert constantly. Predators can appear at any moment. Every second of attention is valuable. When a bird pauses its activities to focus specifically on you, it is making a conscious decision to gather information. It wants a better look. It wants to understand what you're doing. It wants to know whether anything has changed. Perhaps you're wearing different clothes. Perhaps you're carrying a tool you've never carried before. Perhaps you're behaving differently than usual. The bird notices. Researchers have observed that familiar birds often perform these careful visual inspections when something about a trusted human changes. In other words, they aren't merely seeing you, they're checking on you. And once you begin noticing these moments, you'll realize they happen far more often than most people think. Then there's another behavior that becomes impossible to ignore once you know what to look for. Birds track your movement. Walk slowly through your yard one morning. Move from one side to the other. Pause near a tree. Visit a flower bed. Stand beside a feeder. Watch the birds carefully. You may notice that they continue adjusting their position to keep you within view. A cardinal turns its body toward you. A jay shifts along a branch. A sparrow changes perches but keeps watching. This behavior is known as subject tracking. Birds monitor individuals that matter to them. Of course, they track predators. That makes perfect sense. But they also track familiar individuals, because familiar individuals still provide important information. A trusted human who suddenly behaves differently could signal a change in the environment. Perhaps food is coming. Perhaps danger is approaching. Perhaps something unusual is happening. From the bird's perspective, paying attention is simply smart. The remarkable part is realizing what this means. You occupy space in the bird's mental map of the world. Your actions are important enough to monitor. You are not invisible, you are known. And for an animal weighing only a few ounces, that level of attention is extraordinary. Now let's talk about something even more surprising. What if the birds in your yard aren't the only ones who know about you? What if they've been talking about you? At first, that sounds impossible. But modern research suggests that birds share information with one another constantly. Many species use highly sophisticated vocal communication systems. Certain calls communicate danger. Others communicate safety. Some provide information about specific predators. Others coordinate group behavior. Bird communities function as networks of shared information. Imagine one bird learns that a particular human regularly provides food and poses no threat. Over time, nearby birds begin observing that bird's reactions. They see calm behavior. They hear relaxed calls. They watch feeding continue normally. Without directly interacting with the human themselves, they gain information. Researchers studying social learning have found evidence that birds often acquire knowledge by watching each other. Young birds learn from older birds. New arrivals learn from established residents. Information spreads, which means your reputation may extend beyond the birds you interact with directly. When birds continue feeding calmly while you are nearby, they may not only trust their own experiences, they may also be benefiting from information passed through the local bird community. In a sense, other birds may have already vouched for you. And that leads us to one of the most fascinating observations ever reported by bird lovers. Sometimes birds appear to bring gifts. Now, before we continue, it's important to be careful. Scientists do not fully understand every instance of this behavior. But enough observations have occurred to make researchers pay attention. People who regularly feed crows have occasionally discovered unusual objects left in specific locations. Small stones, bokbazos, pieces of glass, metal fragments, colorful items, objects that seem strangely deliberate, not randomly scattered, placed. As though the bird intentionally left them where a particular person would find them. Could this be gift-giving? Scientists continue debating that question. But they agree on something important. The behavior appears intentional. Certain birds seem capable of reciprocal actions. They receive something valuable and occasionally leave something behind. Whether they view these objects the same way humans view gifts remains unknown. Yet the possibility is fascinating. Imagine earning enough trust from a wild bird that it decides to leave something for you. No matter how small the object might be, the meaning feels profound because it suggests a relationship, a connection, an acknowledgement. And perhaps that is why these stories resonate so deeply with people around the world. Another sign that birds have become familiar with you involves something most people hear every day, but rarely analyze. Every backyard has its own soundtrack. Bird calls fill the air from sunrise to sunset. But those sounds can reveal a great deal about how birds perceive you. When birds encounter something they consider threatening, alarm calls increase. The sounds become sharper, faster, more urgent. The entire atmosphere changes. Other birds immediately become alert. Feeding slows. Movement becomes cautious, but around trusted individuals, something different happens. The alarm calls fade. Normal conversation resumes. Birds continue producing soft contact calls, gentle chirps, quiet exchanges. The sounds of a community that feels secure. If you've ever stepped outside and noticed birds continuing their normal activities without interruption, that may be one of the clearest signs of acceptance. Their behavior is essentially saying the same thing. Everything is fine. No danger here. Carry on. And while that may sound simple, in the natural world, trust is never given lightly. It must be earned, especially by creatures whose survival depends on caution. Now we've reached the final sign, the one many people find the hardest to explain, because it doesn't begin with science. It begins with experience. Perhaps you've experienced it yourself. Perhaps someone you know has. A difficult period arrives in life. Loss, grief, loneliness, heartbreak. And during that time, a bird appears. Maybe it's a cardinal, maybe a dove, a robin, a wren, a bluebird. The species varies, but the feeling is often remarkably similar. The bird appears at an unexpected moment. It stays longer than normal. It seems unusually focused on you. And for reasons that are difficult to describe, the encounter feels meaningful. Not random, meaningful now. Science can explain many things about bird behavior. We know birds recognize faces. We know they remember individuals. We know they communicate, learn, and form complex social relationships. But science cannot fully measure personal meaning. It cannot determine what a specific moment means to a specific person. And that is where stories begin. Across generations and cultures, people have attached deep symbolism to birds. Many traditions view certain birds as messengers, reminders, or symbols of connection. The cardinal, in particular, has become associated with remembrance and comfort after loss. Its brilliant red feathers stand out against winter landscapes like a spark of life in a season of stillness. Because of that, countless people have found comfort in cardinal encounters during difficult times. Whether you view those moments through the lens of spirituality, psychology, coincidence, or something else entirely is a personal decision. But there is one thing worth remembering. The birds around us are far more aware than most people realize. They are not decorations in the landscape. They are intelligent participants in it. They observe, they learn, they remember, and every day they make decisions based on what they know, including what they know about you. The next time a bird lands nearby and pauses to look in your direction, don't dismiss it immediately. Take a moment, look back. Notice the intelligence in those eyes. Notice the awareness. Because everything we've explored today points toward one remarkable truth. The bird knows you're there. And perhaps, in its own way, it has known for a very long time. Before we finish, I'd love to hear from you. Has a bird ever behaved in a way that felt unusually meaningful or unforgettable? Was there a moment that stayed with you long after it happened? Share your story in the comments below. I read as many of them as I can, and some of the most moving stories on this channel have come directly from viewers like you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves birds as much as you do. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Backyard Bird Mysteries. Until next time, keep watching the skies, keep listening to the songs around you, and remember, sometimes the smallest visitors carry the biggest mysteries.